Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Let's talk some Brewers. Let's talk some baseball. This red-hot Brewers team. 7 wins in a row, coming off of a huge series sweep against the first place Philadelphia Phillies. On the road, too, against Philadelphia. Coming off the, before that, series sweep against Boston. And then I think, we would have been very happy. I don't want to speak for every Brewers fan out there, but I would have been very happy with winning the series, taking 2 out of 3. Ecstatic about taking all three on the road, and to begin this big part of the schedule that we have just hammered home and talked at length about. But to begin this portion of the schedule with the sweep of the Philadelphia Phillies, for crying out loud, you can't ask for a better start. You just can't, and it's already exceeded my expectations at the beginning. Now, hopefully they use it. Hopefully they can continue this, right? I mean, that's the thing now. It's like, okay, you've shown us that you can do this. The offense has shown what they can be capable of. I'm not expecting 17 runs every single day or even every other day and such, but you've shown that you can hit the ball. You've shown you can manufacture some runs. So can we do it at a more consistent rate? Now, use this momentum. Don't go into Cincinnati now, starting tonight, and get swept or lose this series. I know it's baseball, anything can happen and such, but hopefully, coming off of back-to-back series sweeps, you can kind of ride this momentum, especially coming up this weekend when you're going to be at home for a big portion, going up against the Padres and the Braves and 4 games against the Cardinals, which really could make some movement within the division. But before we get to all that, looking back at this weekend, you look at the offense. Offense is going to be the main story from this weekend. We had some web gem plays, though, on defense, too. Ortiz, yesterday with the sweep play defensively, Terang and such. But the offense is the talking point right now for this Brewers team. And Christian Yelich has just found the extra gear. Now you just hope that he's not going to be out long term after getting hit in the hand yesterday where he had to leave the game early. X-ray's negative, positive, calling it a contusion, bruise. You just hope, his main thing right now is hitting. That's primarily what he is. He's the DH of this ball club. You just hope he's not going to be out too long. But there's no denying he's just flipped a switch. After a very sluggish start to begin the season, home run numbers were up there. But other parts of his game offensively, not up to par. But the last couple weeks, last week and a half or so, he's flipped this switch to where now in his last 29 at-bats, 448 average, a 484 on base, slugging 793. He's up to 12 home runs on the season, 39 RBIs. And he's got 10 stolen bases already, too. But I know I wasn't the only Brewers fan yesterday when, he ends up leaving the game after he gets hit and he leaves the game. It's like, of course, after he's hitting incredibly well and he's just tattooing the crap out of the ball, and you're like, come on. Again, hopefully it's not a long absence, because you want Yelich to continue the hot hand. You want to continue to play the hot hand. You want to keep that guy in the lineup. And you just hope that if he is out for a little bit, it doesn't cool him off, right? You just hope it's like, I hope this doesn't, put some cold water on that flame that he's got going on right now and kind of reverts to what he was at the beginning of the year. You hope not. But tip your cap to Yelly for finding that switch and flipping it to what he's doing right now. And he's not the only one. Jackson Cheerio's been hitting a lot better as of late, too. It's like after he got off that first night, he has been hitting really well. You look at this series against Philadelphia, 15 ABs, 6 hits. Or, 8 hits. I shorted him. 8 hits in 15 at-bats. In each game, he had at least 2 hits. Multiple hits in each game. Saturday's game, he had 4. 5 RBIs, including that home run. Jackson Chourio has bounced back nicely. Bryce Terang has bounced back after, he had a hot start to the season. Cooled off for a bit. But now you look at what he has done lately in his last 22 ABs. Yesterday at the bottom of the order, collected a couple hits. He collected at least a hit in each game in this series. But lately, 318. Slugging 409, on base with 464. But Mr. Consistent, probably the most consistent offensive player. If you had this on your bingo card to begin the season, well done. And maybe you should have given him more props considering he was pretty consistent last year. But I think it's fair to say at least a third of the way through the season now, he has been the most consistent player at the plate. And that's Sal Frelick. My guy, Sal Frelick. Dude is just, he does it. Again, he's not the flashiest offensive player. He's a pretty flashy defender. He's not the flashiest offensive player. He's not going to lead your team in home runs. But you want a consistent player on the base pass, this is your guy. Last 29 ABs, 414. Well, that's his last 29. Okay, I'll double it. His last 58 ABs, 345. So far this season, overall, Sal Frelick, his OPS, 752. His on base for 356 and his average of a 292. Consistently. Probably the most consistent offensive player this season for the Brewers. Break it down by month for Sal Frelick. Those 4 games in March to begin the season, if we're just looking at average, we'll do average and on base. 429, 529. First full month of the season in April, 292, 364. He also slugged 417 in April. Slugged 429 in March in those few games. May, 284, 330, 386. Little down. But still, consistent. Incredibly consistent so far this season. Rhys Hoskins did have a couple of home runs, 2 home runs in Saturday's game. And he's been pretty darn consistent. He's going through it. But you look at the last 15 games, though, he's a little down. 218, slugging a 473, though. On base is just 297. Does have 4 home runs in his last 15. But, again, that average, a little bit down. Strikeouts, a little bit high in his last 28 ABs. 14 strikeouts in those last 28 ABs. And his only hits in his series going up against his former team, the Phillies, were those 2 home runs on Saturday. But other guys stepping up. Fun to see. And, just last week, too, we were talking about one of those offensive players who's hitting or playing really high at a high level was Caleb Durbin. I think, you still got to give your tip to the cap to Durbin. He had at least a hit in every game of this series, too. His last 53 ABs, he's hitting 283. He's slugging a 415. His on base is a 350. And for our I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'm not saying that the Brewers are now one of the best teams in baseball because they've all of a sudden won 7 in a row and they swept the Phillies in their home stadium. I'm not saying the Brewers are now one of the best teams in baseball. And I'm not saying I feel loads better about them moving forward. Like, all right, playoffs, we're good to go now. I'm not saying I feel loads better about them moving forward. But I am just saying that I do feel a little bit better because they've shown what they could do from an offensive standpoint. They've shown that they can put up some runs, that they can hit. It's just my question now, and I think that the biggest question surrounding them is, can they be consistent with it? You know, I'm not expecting them to go out and put up some monster numbers consistently, like, 17 runs and 9 runs and 8, whatever the case may be, for every single game. That'd be awesome. I'm not expecting it. I'm not expecting them to sweep every game and win every game now for the rest of the season. Again, be flipping awesome, but let's be realistic in this thing. I just want to see, can they be consistent with it now? Because you can't still ignore the first quarter of the season, the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. We can't ignore that. We could focus on what they've done for us lately, which has been some pretty good offensive play. But still, the biggest question I have for this team is, can they be consistent with it? So I'm not saying that I'm feeling like loads better, like there's no questions remaining with this ball club, that everything's hunky-dory and we got nothing to worry about. But I am saying I'm feeling a little bit better because at least they've shown the ability, the capability that they could do it, that they can hit, that they got the home run ball, that they can manufacture some runs. But they've got to be a little bit more consistent with it. Can you continue to show us this? Can you go into Cincinnati and do this? Can you do this against the Padres at home coming up this weekend? Can you do it against the Cubs in a couple weeks in Chicago? Cubs team that's putting up some runs. First place Cubs team. Can you do it against them? Can you do it 4 games against the Cardinals when they're in your stadium? Again, that's why this stretch, the rest of this month of June, I think is such an incredibly important benchmark and a gauge, a test to see how this Brewers team lines up with some other playoff caliber teams. So far, A, going up against the Phillies. If we grade it series by series, you got to go A, don't you? When you sweep them, and you kind of add a little bit of, different feelings from every game. I mean, solid 6-2 victory on Friday. Offensive outpouring in game 2, and then a come from behind one on Sunday. It was like the first couple games there against the Phillies. Brewers were the first team to score. They held on to that. Phillies were the first team to score on yesterday. And how many of us kind of thought, yeah, it's probably going to be one of those days. Quintana's coming back off of the injured list, and the Phillies score right away, and it's like, hey, we'll take a series win. Be cool to get the sweep, but we'll take the series win, especially with Suarez on the mound yesterday, who's 4-0. And when he was out there, he gave them 6 innings of 1 earned run ball, but as soon as he went out, Brewers made their move. You had a little bit of everything in this 3-game series against the Phillies. So you got to give them an A. Now just don't slip up against the Reds, who are just right behind you in the standings in that NL Central. Don't give the Reds any momentum. Continue to climb up in that standings. Continue to add more wins to that win column to get that number higher above 500. It's cool that we're 4 games above 500. Let's get to, 7, 10. Let's get to double-digit wins above 500. So I'm feeling a little bit better. But I just want to see it consistently now. I want to see it at a consistent level. Spent a lot of time talking about the offense and such, and now, you kind of look at this pitching and, expecting Brandon Woodruff to be back soon. There's going to be another decision at hand. What do you do with the starting rotation? Is it going to be this weekend potentially we see Brandon Woodruff back? Maybe. Chad Patrick's got to start coming up. Is Chad Patrick the odd man out? I understand the business side of baseball and options and who's got options left and all that. I get it. Okay, I get it. But when we talk about consistency, there's no question Chad Patrick has been probably the most consistent starting pitcher for the Brewers. And what kind of gets overshadowed again on Saturday, with the Brewers putting up 17 runs, was that Chad Patrick picked up the win, but he went 6 innings and just gave up 2 earned runs, didn't issue a walk, struck out 6. And Chad Patrick has not allowed more than 3 runs in any of his starts this year. 3-4, 2.97 ERA. And you look at his last 3 starts. 2 earned runs against the Phillies, none against Boston, 1 against Baltimore. I feel like he's going to be the odd man out. And I get it. I understand it from a baseball perspective, but I feel like you got to find a way to keep this guy on your team, on the major league club. So it gets overshadowed a little bit on that game Saturday because of the offensive support. But give that guy credit for a solid performance again. Especially, I got to imagine, Brewers, gave him an early run or early lead. 4 runs in the first. And then they followed up with 8 runs in the fourth. But, sometimes I feel like it might be, okay, you got a big lead right away. Do you get a little comfortable? Do you get a little relaxed? Get a little bit off your game. You're like, okay, I got a little bit to play with here. I give him a little bit more credit for staying dialed in and going out there and pitching a heck of a performance. And then you go to Friday night's game when the Brewers had a 6-2 victory, again highlighted by Christian Yelich with a couple of dingers, right? And rightfully so. But you look at the pitching performances from DL Hall and Priester. That worked out beautifully. Brewers just used 2 pitchers in that game. After having an off day the day before on Thursday, and after the bullpen we were talking about all last week with the bullpen just being used so much, Friday's game, you throw out DL Hall for 3 innings, and he gives you no hits, no earned runs, 4 Ks, and just 1 walk. And Priester follows that up by going 6 strong innings. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 home run. You look at the offense is the talk from this past weekend. But I would argue, don't overlook the performances from the pitching department, especially from Friday, when you had the back-to-back starts, or the piggyback of DL Hall and Priester. Chad Patrick's start on Saturday, yes, had a ton of run support, but still was fantastic. Quintana came back yesterday. Pitch count was getting up there a little bit. His first start after his, rehab stint, coming off of the injured list. Still only gave up 2 earned runs, but after that, bullpen locked it down, man. After 5 innings, Nick Mears, nice bounce back for him. Koenig, Uribe, Trevor McGill. After Quintana went out of the game after 5 innings, just 2 hits given up by the Brewers bullpen. no walks. So, again, great about the offensive weekend, but also tip your cap to the pitching performance from this Brewer staff going up against that Phillies lineup. I know Harper wasn't in there, and Harper's a big loss. They still had to deal with Turner. They still had to deal with Schwarber, Castellanos, JT Realmuto. I mean, that's still a pretty good lineup. Bryce Harper would have made it a little bit more interesting. Probably even a little bit more difficult. But you take advantage of it. You take advantage of the fact that Bryce Harper was not in that lineup. And the Brewers did exactly that. Now going up against the Reds on the road, use the momentum. Don't go into this Red series now and be like, thinking you're too hot to trot. 7 wins in a row, two sweeps in a row. We got this in the bag. No. Keep the focus on. Keep the hyper focus on. Go into Cincinnati, win that series. Use this wave of momentum that you have right now and ride it. Ride it into your home series, this long home stretch that you got coming up. That includes the Padres, that includes the Braves, and those 4 games against the Cardinals. Ride this wave. Use it to your benefit.